show is going to be a jam-packed show, guys. I don't even think we're going to be able to fit this into 60 minutes. So if you can't stay in the kitchen, you know what they say. But guys, tonight on this show, we got so much to go through. We've got so much to go through because there's so many things that are taking place. I'm going to be sharing articles with you guys. I'm going to be sharing information with you guys. I'm going to get you guys up to date, first and foremost, not only with what's going on in the current climate, but also, guys, also not just what's going on, but also kind of what needs to be taking place in order for us to take massive action in the current climate. Guys, we are in a very interesting time right now. I want to share that with you. We are in a very interesting time right now. A lot of people may not know this, a lot of people may not believe this, a lot of people may not understand this, but guys, I'm telling you, we are in a very interesting time as it pertains to property. Now, what generally happens is people do something which I have been advocating people not to do for a very long time, and I'm going to speak a little bit about that on the show tonight as well. You know, why you shouldn't do exactly what we're going to be talking about, you know, which is what so many people do. So many people have an innate trust, okay, an innate trust for organizations, for organizations who do not have your best interest at heart. This is something I've been speaking about for years. This is something since we started doing the Impact Show we've been discussing, and we've been talking about how that basically tends to affect people and ends having people in very tricky situations. So what I want to do to get us started tonight is I want to just start by saying this. If you are joining us for the absolute first time, if this is your first time on the Impact Show, just write in the comments, in the chat first. If you have been here before, just write in the chat before. I know there's a few chat messages that have already been going on, so that's absolutely fantastic. I know the team's in the chat, and I also know that we have a few of the viewers in the chat. So feel free to just throw in the chat. If this is your first time, just write the word first. If you've been on the Impact Show before, then just write been here before. Now, guys, what I want to share with you just to get us kick-started, okay, to get us kick-started, you know, the world is going through some very global events, and these events are very interesting. And just before we get into the hardcore property stuff, I want to do two things which I think are going to be very relevant for us and to us. The first thing that I want to do is I basically want to read a little disclaimer. This is our standard disclaimer that we share every single week on the show, and the reason why we share that is because we don't want people being on this show and assuming that every single thing, yes, there will be phone time today for the chat comment that just came in. There's always phone time. That's part of the show. It's a hallmark of the show. So I think that was Yogesh. So Yogesh, we will have phone time today. So I just want to start by saying, guys, we're in unprecedented times. I'm going to start by reading out our standard disclaimer just so you guys know kind of where we stand in terms of the information that we share. Guys, we want to encourage you, regardless of your situation, regardless of your standing, regardless of your positioning in the property market, please understand that all the information we give you is from the examples, it's from the scenarios and situations of our own experience. We would always encourage you and advise you to go and get legal and financial advice from a qualified person if you decide to take any of our recommendations and if you decide to do anything that we're going to be speaking about doing as it pertains to property. So guys, that's the disclaimer just to get us started. And the reason I wanted to get that out of the way is because the show must go on, because today's show, we just got so much stuff to unpack. So the first thing I want to do in the show today, the first thing, okay, and you might not be ready for this, and that's okay. The first thing I want to do in the show today is a shout out, okay, and it's a shout out to someone who's basically passed away, okay. This is for George Floyd. Is a gentleman who was murdered on video in daytime. And what I want to do as a kind of shout is I want to do a minute of silence. Okay, so we're going to do that minute of silence. Yes, it's YouTube live. Yes, you know, you're doing a minute of silence on a live show. Yes, we're going to do that. The reason why is because we're going to just pay some respect to a man whose life was forcefully and wrongfully taken from him. So we're going to start with a minute of silence, and then from there I've got articles upon articles that I want to show up with you guys, show to you guys about property and the climate and what's going on, things that I've said to you are going to happen, and things that, you know, people have acted like, oh, how can that happen? This isn't possible, etc. Now, what I want to encourage you to do, I've seen a few messages saying been here before. What I want to encourage you to do is I want you to share this video. Okay, on YouTube, there's a little button. It's like a little arrow, and it says share. I want you to share this live today. okay? Because I want other people to be able to jump onto this live and get value. But not only do I want you to share this live today, I also, if you know people who are going to get value from learning more about how to understand property, how to look at property the right way, what I want you to do is I want you to reach out to them, send them a message, share it specifically with them. Say to them, hi, I'm on the Impact Show. This show has been benefiting me for the last 1 week, 2 weeks, 7 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it's been for you. And as a result, I think you should get onto this video. So what I want you to do also is hit like, hit subscribe, and let's get into the stuff. So we're going to start with the 1 minute, 1 minute of respect for George Floyd, who was recently murdered. And because of him, there's a whole bunch of riots, or because of his death, his wrongful death, should I say, there are a whole bunch of riots taking place in the USA. And the thing that's interesting about that is, just before jumping on the show, I watched a video where they were basically saying that there are certain covert individuals who are actually sabotaging these same riots. So people are out there trying to protest peacefully, and there are people who are creating these fires and all these other things that are taking place. But guys, again, that's not for me. That's not the property side. The property side is that this could happen to anybody. So we just want to basically share that little bit of honor and respect for that gentleman. So I'm just going to do this 1 minute of silence, and then from there, we're going to jump straight into the show. Okay, guys. So look, first and foremost, what I want to do is I want to just reach out and, as a word of prayer, I just want to wish George Floyd's family all the best. I pray that George Floyd's soul rests in peace in regards to what has happened. And I pray that, the injustice that has occurred to him will not continue to occur to people across the globe. Now, with that being said, why start with something like a tragedy that has taken place? Okay, and I alluded to part of the reason I was starting with that on the show tonight. Now you might think, oh, this is a property show. Like, why is Samuel talking about someone who's been slaughtered in daylight, etc., etc.? And this is the reason why. Like I said, just before jumping on the show, somebody shared with me a video which was basically alluding to the sabotage taking place of the peaceful protest that has started around this gentleman's death. Now, what has this got to do with property? This is what it's got to do with property. The key theme I'm going to be speaking about throughout tonight's show. And yes, as mentioned earlier, we were asked, will we still be taking calls on this show? Yes, we will still take calls on this show. But what I want you to understand is the key theme for tonight, the reason why potentially there's so much storm which we need to strategize through in this current climate. Guys, you might not be ready for this. I'm just going to keep it real. It's because the narrative, the story, the play that's being told is not always the play that's actually taking place. Now, why is that relevant to you? The reason it's relevant to you is this. I remember in 2008, 2007, 2008, there was a recession. There was a global, recession. And one of the things that happened in this global recession is we had newspapers printing an article on Monday and a contrary article on Tuesday. Okay, and that's not media. That's that's not sharing news. Okay, what that is creating confusion, or it's telling a story. And the key is, when you jump on this show, you're jumping on this show because you want to know, okay, Samuel's insights, or how can Samuel and his team support me, or what kind of ideas does another investor have? That's my assumption when you're jumping on the Impact Show. You see someone who's doing property, who's doing it fairly successfully. You may be doing it fairly successfully yourself and just say, you know what, let me bounce ideas off someone else. Or you might be someone who's just starting out and think, okay, let me hear from someone who's more experienced. Now, look, this is the reality. Whichever group of people you are, whichever group of person you are, whichever camp you fall into out of the two I've just given an example of, we are all potentially subjected to the media, the mainstream media and the news that we listen to. Why? Because property, as I share nearly every single week, is a business. And because it's a business, what that means is there's two primary functions, two primary aspects of business that take place every single day. We do not have a choice. We can't make a change to these two primary factors. And what they are supply and demand. Supply and demand. And guys, I talk about this every week. Why do I talk about this every week? Because I meet so many people that I coach or that I talk to or that I meet when I do presentations who do not understand that property is a business. And if you want to be successful, you have to look at it as a business. If you look at it as a business, you understand those two metrics are so powerful: supply and demand. Now, why are supply and demand so powerful? Supply and demand are so powerful because they dictate the price point at which we can play the game of property. They dictate that price point. They state that the London market will not have any assets below £100,000 or any assets below, you know, I don't think you can pick up a studio for less than £100,000 in the London market currently. Okay. Now, the reason I'm sharing this, I got a call this week from a broker not based in London, but they were attempting to buy something in London that was priced at roughly 150k. And they were like, look, this is a 1-bedroom flat priced at roughly 150. Like, is something wrong? I need to speak to an investor who's based in London to find out is something wrong. And I looked at it, and from all intensive purposes, it looked like it was actually a great deal. I don't know if the auction house had made a mistake or whatever, or if they were just trying to encourage bids, which obviously many of us know happens a lot. But in order for them to do that legally and ethically, the reserve price must have been major low as well. So either way, there's something in that. Now, why is this important? This is important because the narrative, the story that's being told has a direct impact on what people are able to do, what people are not able to do, what people are able to see, what people are not able to see. The George Floyd situation comes in very simple because of one thing. We've just done a 1-minute silence for a man that was murdered, okay? And he was murdered in broad daylight. Two characteristics which are very important. There's a lot of characteristics that are actually more important, but he was murdered in broad daylight on camera, okay? Now, this is a gentleman murdered in broad daylight on camera, but when people decide to do a peaceful protest, and guys, you can start going and searching online and start to see, you know, a number of videos that are emerging of people who are disguising themselves, going into this peaceful protest and starting fires and or looting and or breaking, creating damage. So this is very interesting because mainstream media don't tell you that. Mainstream media don't tell you that although the majority of people are trying to peacefully protest, there are a few people who are creating fires. There are a few people who are breaking windows. There are a few people who are doing this, doing that. And the funniest thing is, if you see any of the video footage, you'll very quickly come to the same conclusion as me, that those few people have got nothing to do with the actual protest or with George Floyd's death. So the reason I'm sharing this is because that's what we're up against as property investors. We're up against a mainstream narrative which has no intention to favor you, to favor me, to favor us. And then we're also up against the actual individual we're going to work with. So that might be a seller, that might be a buyer if you're selling a property, that might be a landlord who's trying to rent a property if you're doing rent to rent, like many of the people that watch the Impact Show. And the reason why all of this is interesting is because you have to navigate and negotiate through this when those people are subject to the same, and maybe even in many cases more of this mainstream media narrative, which you yourself may not want to play with. So guys, this is crucial. All right, this is crucial. This is crucial stuff. And I want people to be very aware of this as we jump into the show. So the number is going to be on the screen. The phone line is not open yet, but the number's on the screen. And the reason the number's up is because I want you to be ready, okay? I want you to be ready to basically get your calls in the moment you guys are ready, okay? So the number's on the screen right now. Feel free to write the number down, and at the same time, get the access code so you can be a part of what we're doing on the show as and when we move forward. So we're ready to go in that regard, okay? Numbers on the screen. But before we take a few calls, what I want to do, I want to touch a few things that have come out recently, which I think are really interesting, especially for us as property people. The first thing I want to touch is, let's go to the oldest article. The oldest article is this one. Let's do this one. All right. So in this article, this is an article by The Telegraph. Okay. And when I saw this article, I was actually slightly dumbfounded. Okay. And the reason I was slightly dumbfounded was for a number of reasons. Okay. And you should be able to see that on the screen now. And it says something so interesting, okay? It says on this article, okay, which and guys, look, I knew this was gonna happen, but not only did I know this was gonna happen, I spoke about this happening. Okay, if you've been following us on the Impact Show for any amount of time, even just a couple of weeks, you would have seen me speak about this occurring and this happening. All right, so let's jump into it. It says our buyer, okay, it's a quotation, says our buyer is demanding a 20% house price cut, which means a reduction on the price of the property. Okay, so this is someone already talking to these people about buying a property, but now they're actually requesting a reduction on the price. Okay, and I just want to go through this article with you very quickly. I don't, most of you know me, I don't like going into all of these articles, but I do like showing them so you guys can be aware of what's actually taking place in the marketplace. It says our buyer is demanding a 20% house price cut. The property market reopens with a price war. Okay, now look, is this the truth? Please make up your own mind. Be an informed observer, be an informed participant in our show. Guys, you guys are intelligent people. The people that watch this show, the people that participate, the people that call in, the people that ask me questions, guys, they don't ask me questions because they're ignorant. You guys ask questions because you're intelligent. Okay, and I want you to ask questions when you see articles like this. This was published on the 18th of May. Okay, the 18th of May, so not up to 20 days ago. Okay, at 6 a.m. There's a Telegraph, a very reputable paper in the UK, and they basically say a buyer is requesting a 20% price house cut. The property market reopens with a price war. Okay, it goes on to say, with prices forecasted to fall by as much as 23%. Now, look, this is the funniest. I won't even go into that. With prices forecasted to fall as low as 23%, big discounts are being requested, and some are waiting to snap up bargains. Okay, let me go into the article. I'll read the first paragraph just so you guys get a feel of what people are saying in our country about this stuff. It says, as the English property market started reopening this week, buyers and sellers have found themselves in an aggressive house price war. Okay, now look, the people watching this show are property people. You tell me if you found yourself in an aggressive price war, okay? Because I can tell you I haven't. Okay, I have seen that there's been some shifts and some changes, but to be honest with you, the same subheading that they have in the article, that some people are waiting to pick up bargains, is the same reason why some people aren't even in the market yet. So if this is an aggressive price war, what's it going to be like when those people who are searching for deals or waiting for deals are going to enter the market? Okay, because that's not what's happening. For me, this is a false narrative. Okay, that's my intention. That's my impression of this. This is a false narrative, but this goes back to the George Floyd stuff, goes back to the media, it goes back to a whole bunch of this stuff. So as investors, guys, you need to stay sharp. All right, if someone's getting value already in this show, just hit the like button and write in the comments value. Okay, just write the word value if you're getting value already in the show. I'm going to go forward and read the next two small paragraphs. It says forecasts. Okay, forecasts look bleak. The Bank of England is anticipating properties to fall in value by 16%, but they just said 23% is a potential drop. And now they're saying 16% is the Bank of England prediction. And guys, those of you who were on the show last week, you know that I made certain statements about one of my coaches claiming that, the US investors are talking about a 30% drop. And I shared what I thought. Okay, and this article in some ways actually lines up with what I said. So some people could read this article and think, oh, this is what Samuel said. No, this is not what I said. Okay, because some mainstream media reporters and reporting is all about telling a story a certain way to dilute the reality or to over exert the reality to force people out of actions they should be taking or into actions they shouldn't be taking, which is the same thing. But let's keep going. There's a really interesting part. Again, forecasts look bleak. The Bank of England is anticipating properties to fall in value by 16%, and as a result, buyers want big discounts. Okay, it goes on to say Lucy Matthews, 29, and her husband put their 2-bedroom garden flat in Stockwell, South London, on the market last August for 550k. At the beginning of this year, they agreed a price of 500k with a buyer, the same amount they paid for it in 2014. We have put £40,000 into renovations, so it was a bit galling, said Mrs. Matthews. So this is just me reading from the newspaper. Okay, this is the Telegraph. This is Telegraph, reputable paper. Guys, you can go find this. As I mentioned earlier, I think I said when this was actually published, 18th of May. Excellent. 18th of May. Okay. So this is, this is a recent article in this month, And they're basically saying people are looking for massive discounts. And if you read through the article, there's a specific narrative being sold to us as investors. Okay. And I'm just saying that to us guys as investors, because I want you to be aware that whilst this narrative's being sold, you have to choose the narrative you're going to take. All right. So this is what they're saying. I think I've got a caller, so I'm going to jump on the call and we'll come back to this. But the key that I want you guys to understand as you're on this show, as you're thinking about investing, as you're having conversations with myself and other people in my team, I want you to understand this. The mainstream narrative is very rarely the narrative. I'll say it again, the mainstream narrative is very rarely the narrative to follow. And it's even less, very rarely the narrative to make decisions based on. I think that's what I wanted to say. So guys, we're going to jump into this call and we'll see who we can help before we go into some of the other articles that we actually have as well. So let me see who's on the call. The team have said we've got a caller. Okay. Excellent. Hello, good evening. Caller 9706. Hello, good evening, caller 9706. Okay, it seems as though the caller cannot hear me for some reason. Which is a little bit strange because we know all the texts sorted out from earlier on today. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Hi, good evening. How can we help you? Hi, Yogesh. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you for asking. Yogesh, you know the drill. So 2 questions. You happy for the people who are watching to basically hear what I'm going to share with you? And are you also happy for them to hear what you are going to share with me?
Okay. That's fine, yes.
Excellent, excellent. So how can we help you, Yogesh?
Okay, so it's about sourcing properties.
Okay.
I've got this big appetite to source either offices or retail, where you can convert them into flats, basically. And I don't really have the time to do all the sourcing myself, such as nets and everything that you can do. But I want to find reputable people who can find these kind of things for me, who, you know, are trustworthy, and they just won't take your money and not find you anything useful. That's my main question, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so guys, for those of you who are listening, you should have been able to hear Yogesh's question. If you was unable to hear it, I'm just going to reiterate it. Yogesh has basically said that he's interested in, was that semi-commercial or just commercial, you were saying, offices?
Either mixed use or offices or retail shops.
Excellent.
Where you can convert them into flats using permitted development.
Excellent. So Yogesh has basically said he's interested in mixed-use properties. He's also interested in other properties which he can potentially use permitted development in order to refurbish them or convert them into residential properties. And he's asked a key question, which is, how does he find reputable people sourcing properties in order for him to move forward? So just to give you kind of a bit of a nutshell in terms of looking for those kind of assets, what I'd say is the people that source commercial properties are going to be a different kettle of fish to the people that source residential properties. And it's because of that, one of the things you're going to probably want to do is, firstly, especially because commercial properties generally, like, again, I'm not saying this is the rule of thumb, but generally you'll find if you're looking for commercial properties to do commercial to residential conversion, you're going to end up spending a lot more money generally than someone who's doing a residential acquisition and then a residential refurb and then refinance or whatever else. So the reason I say that is because what that generally tends to mean is that you're going to have a lot more money at stake than someone who's doing residential investments. So I would encourage you, if you're going to have a lot more money at stake, to be a lot more selective about who you work with on a commercial side. First thing I would encourage you to do, if I was in that position, is I'd be looking for people who are recommended to me. That's the first thing I'd do. Look for people who have been recommended to me. Now, if you are a complete novice to this, what I'm going to do, and this is for those viewers who are, completely brand new, again, if you're getting value, hit like, hit subscribe, and become a part of the channel, so you can basically get all of this value all the time. If you're a complete novice, this is what I'd advise you to do. I'd advise you to do something very simple. Go and start looking for developers. Okay, go and start looking for developers. One of the easiest ways to look for developers, I'm going to give you 2 easy ways. One of the easiest ways is just look at your mail. Okay, look at your actual post. If you're looking for deals in your own area, look at your actual post. What you're going to find is at one point, in every year, you might have had 2, 3, 4, depending on the area you're living in, 2, 3, 4 applications to you as a resident to say something about a development that's taking place in your local area. So let's assume in a 12-month period, let's say 2019, you received 3 documents through the post basically saying this is the local council or this is a local developer. We're thinking of doing some refurbishment in your area. And as a direct byproduct, we're writing to you just to see, just to let you know, or whatever else. If it's the council, they have sort of similar approaches to their communication with you, but generally the general rule of thumb is they will reach out to you as a local resident to basically say to you, we're going to be doing some development in your area. Why is this important? Through means of the documentation that's sent to you via post, you can trail or track who that developer is, okay? And from tracking who that developer is, you can get in touch with that developer and say to that developer, hi, I'm a small scale developer, I'm a mid scale developer, I'm a large scale developer, I'm developing in the same area as you, and I wanted to know basically how you found this opportunity so that we could potentially work together, because I get opportunities from time to time which are big scale, small scale, mid scale, depending on what you find. And basically I'm interested in just small scale, so if I ever had something that was medium scale, I wanted to know if that would be something of interest for me to offer to you. And then obviously what you're doing is you're not starting by asking to take, you're starting by asking to give, and it's all about giving value in my world. So that would be an approach I'd take. Now, through means of approaching it that way and offering that opportunity for me to potentially give leads that I wouldn't be interested in to this particular developer, I could potentially, through means of engagement and building rapport, start to find out what that developer or investor potentially does in order to source their opportunities. Or if they're using sources specifically, which comes back to Yogesh's question, I can then start to get recommendations and find out that, okay, this particular organization, they offer up developments within this price bracket, or they offer up developments within a much larger price bracket, but that specific investor's only interested in the 5 million plus, whereas you might be interested in the 500,000 and up, for example. So does that make sense, Yogesh?
Yes, that's a good tip. So
cool. Let me give you another one, because I said two on that.
Yeah, go on.
So the other one I was going to give you, which a lot of people generally don't tap into, but is a very, very powerful tip. This second tip, which is extremely powerful, but like I said, many people don't tap into, is for you to go on the planning portal. So if you go on the planning portal, that is a national website. I don't think it's government owned anymore, but basically it's a national website which, through means of searching through the planning portal at specific locations or areas, let's just say use the term postcodes, what you're able to do is find investors, developers, etc. Again, it's a public portal in order to find out who's developing what in what areas. Now, what you can do again from finding a list of people or curating a list of people who actually look for developments in certain areas, potentially the areas you're interested in, you can then again do the same snail trail process and then get in touch with those people, speak to those people about how they acquire their opportunities and if they can potentially work with you moving forward as well. So guys, if you got value from that, hit like. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, hit subscribe, and make sure that you share the video so other people can get the same value as well. Yogesh, how was that as 2 tips?
That's really good. Just to clarify, when you find the developers, you basically kind of build a rapport, aren't you, you kind of will help them out and they can help you out. Is that kind of what you're saying? You're saying
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's just the same as primary school, secondary school. When people go to school, university, college, when people go to school, how do they build a circle of friends? They build a circle of friends because they have mutualities. They have things in common. So the key is you're reaching out with the thing in common, property development, whatever size development. But then at the same time, a relationship is a two-way thing. So you've got to be able to add value as well as look to, utilize the value that's available as well. So it's the same as a show. We run the show. Some people don't call in, but they definitely watch the content. Some people don't watch live, but they watch after. At the end of the day, they're getting value. The question is, how do they kind of reciprocate and give value back? For some people, it's I don't. For some people, it's I give value back by just making sure I phone in. It's different things. But again, it's all about having an abundance mindset and thinking, well, look, there is something I can do to add value. I'll give you another idea so you get a flavor of what I'm talking about. I had a lady call me today, again, earlier on, just before before the show, and she basically said to me, look, Samuel, I've got a deal. It's in your local area. I've been on the Impact Show. You know, I know what you're doing. I want to help you. So can I give you this opportunity? So guys, again, it works both ways. It works absolutely both ways. It's not just you going to find these people and trying to take it. You know, the key is, you know, how can you create a relationship of reciprocity where there's a virtuous circle? So yeah, hope that helps.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Excellent. You're welcome. And thank you for calling in. Always great to have you on the show, Yogesh. All right, guys. So basically what I'm going to do, and again, that was a fantastic question from Yogesh, and I think you guys would have probably got a lot of value. I want to go into something which actually relates to one of the things that Yogesh was talking about, and I think it's going to be really, really pertinent for you guys. If, again, guys, you're watching this for the first time, hit like, okay, if you like the content so far. If you're a person who's been on the show before and you know you're always getting this kind of value from us, feel free to let us know by just hitting like as well. And then side by side of that, subscribe, guys. Why don't you just subscribe? Hit the subscribe button. All right, guys. So with that being said, what I want to share with you is this article that came out from Forbes. Okay, now most of you should know about Forbes. I know we're in the UK market, but generally Forbes is a massive publication. It is a global publication, so you should know about Forbes. If you do not know about Forbes, boy, I don't really know what much to say. But anyway, let's jump in. I'm going to read this article to you guys. And again, like I said, it relates exactly to what Yogesh was just talking about on his call in terms of wealth. Okay, so I call this the great wealth transfer, if you want to put it simply. And hopefully a few of you guys who are watching this are going to start to understand. It says, the changing fortunes of the world's richest. Okay, so this is a Forbes article and that's the headline, the changing fortunes of the world's richest. Okay, and again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier on. This is stuff I spoke about on this show weeks back when we started off. When I started saying, look, guys, we're going to be doing strategy on the storm. I spoke about this weeks back, but some people don't like to listen, and it's okay, you know, because it works like that. Some do and some don't. Some will and some won't. That's something a mentor taught me years ago. Some do and some don't. Some will and some won't. Now, why is this important? Let's jump into it. I read the article. It says the super rich. Okay, that's how it starts, this article, which I think is absolutely amazing. The super rich are a whole lot richer than they were 2 months ago. Guys, that is the opening headline. The super rich are a whole lot richer than they were 2 months ago. Now, look, I want you to ask a question to yourself, okay? Because you might not understand, you know, how Samuel does this, why Samuel does this. Guys, I'm trying to help people move forward. I'm trying to help people change their fortune. And to be honest with you, when we started the Impact Show, that was probably the best time to do that in this decade. The reason why is because we have, and we had at that time, we still have a very, very favorable scenario and situation in order to radically change people's lives in a short amount of time. Okay, you can't see me doing that, but in a short amount of time. Now, why is this important? This is important because of this. Let me read the article, then I'll get into it a bit more. The super rich are a whole lot richer than they were 2 months ago. 25 of the wealthiest people on Forbes' list of the world's billionaires are worth a whopping $255 billion more. Okay, not they're worth $255 billion now. They're worth $255 billion more than when the US stock market hit a mid-pandemic low on March the 23rd. Guys, I don't know if you've heard about certain news. Joe Rogan, who's a content creator, was recently offered, and I think he signed $100 million deal to make his content exclusive on Spotify. Okay, and he is a content creator on YouTube. Why did YouTube allow someone like Spotify to go and get a deal like that? Okay, and that, guys, I don't know if you watch certain content creators like Valuetainment, you know, Pat Bet David's talking about on Valuetainment how Joe Rogan's move in 48 hours generated for Spotify an additional $5 billion. Guys, again, look, for you, you might just be a property person, and because you're just a property person, you don't understand how these things have a radical impact on our marketplace. Guys, I share it with you every single week. I'm going to share it again. Property is a business, and because it's a business, it moves, it's motivated, its mechanisms are to constrictive factors, and those constrictive factors are supply and demand. Guys, the moment you understand supply and demand have an effect on every market, the moment you can start making real, solid, secure financial moves. Now, let's just keep going, okay? So I mentioned this again. I've mentioned this for the last several weeks, that there is a recession taking place. I've been saying that again and again and again. There's a recession that people are not aware of. There's a crash that's taken place. I was one of the people that was sharing about what was going on in America, and basically saying that, look, the same thing is going to basically take place in the UK. If we look over history, we see that happens again and again when there's a financial market shift in the US economy that usually always has a following effect on the UK economy. Now, why is this important? I'm going to keep reading. Okay, it says together these 25 folks, now they're folks, a moment ago they were the super rich, but these 25 folks, Forbes looked at just one. Apologies, I'm reading something else. Okay, let me go back to it. Together, these 25 folks Forbes looked at, just those on the list with fortunes tied to public stocks, are worth nearly $1.5 trillion, which is about 16% of the total wealth held by the world's billionaires. So I'll read that again, okay? It's saying these 25, wealthiest people, the super rich, basically, let me break it all down. It's saying the super rich are getting richer. Okay, it's saying that just through the last 2 months, an additional $255 billion has gone towards the super rich. Okay, that's what it said. It's then gone into the second paragraph to say these 25 folks that Forbes looked at specifically, okay, and just looking potentially at their connection to the stock market, the public stock market, okay, it says are worth nearly $1.5 trillion, which is about 16% of the total wealth held by the world's billionaires. What that basically means is 16% of the world's billionaires, 16% of the world's billionaires' wealth is actually right now, just on the stock market alone, contained within the top 25. Okay, guys, you need to understand this, because this was not the US billionaires. This doesn't say the United States billionaires. It says the world's billionaires. Please bear in mind. I'm going to read the next paragraph, and then from there, I'll jump off this and just break some few things down for you. Again, how it basically relates to us in the property market. Like I said, guys, hit like, hit share, hit subscribe if you're getting value from this. It says Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is the biggest dollar gainer among this rarefied group. Okay, Facebook shares surged nearly 60% over the past 2 months, hitting a record high on Friday, May 22nd. Guys, I don't know if you understand this. May 22nd was the same date that, if you look over all of the impact shows we've done, look over all of the strategy and the storms that we've done, I said again and again and again, May 22nd was the day that people in the stock market recognized that there was a crash in the American economy. So what you have to understand is supply and demand, okay? There's an economic crash on one hand, and on the other hand, there's somebody whose prices of his stock shares soar 60% over the past 2 months. I hope you're understanding this, okay? Hit a record high on Friday, May 22nd. It says investors responded positively to the Wednesday debut of Shops, Facebook's effort to host digital storefronts for small business owners. Zuckerberg, now worth $86.5 billion, has become the 4th richest person in the world, up from the number 7 richest on Forbes 2020 list of the world's billionaires. Published in early April, the 36-year-old is now richer than Warren Buffett, Inditex founder Amancio Ortega, and Oracle founder Larry Ellison. Guys, Zuckerberg just moved up, okay, from the 7th position to the 4th position. Is it the 4th or the 3rd position? 4th to the 4th position, according to Forbes. Okay, and again, guys, we started this show by me saying, don't follow the mainstream narrative. I'll add on to that. Do your own research. Okay, do your own research. Work out what's true. Work out what's not true, according to your own beliefs. Okay, according to the things you understand and the things you're looking out for yourself. But guys, if you just understand what we've just shared with you in this article alone, guys, I don't know what to say to you. There's a wealth transfer taking place. I want to say it to you again, because you might not be listening to me and understanding exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to say it again. Maybe I'll say it a bit slower for you to totally understand what I'm talking about. There is a wealth transfer taking place. Okay. And I spoke to you guys about this weeks back. I said to you guys weeks back, look, guys, things are shifting. I said to you guys weeks back, guys, things are shifting. Okay. Yogesh is saying I predicted the future. No, Yogesh, this isn't about predicting the future, which is the sad thing about this, okay? It's not about predicting the future, okay? Because you can identify what's going to take place based on patterns, okay? Guys, I've said this to you guys again and again. For those of you who want to know even more value about this, you want to get even more insight about this, in the description to this video, we've got a link to our on-demand webinar. Our next webinar is on Monday. Go and get registered for that webinar. On that webinar, I'm going to share with you the same things that I talk about nearly every single week, but just in more detail, because it takes a lot more time on that webinar for us to basically engage and talk to you, for you to really understand what I'm talking about. Guys, my first degree was in computing and statistics. My second degree was a master's in statistics. Statistics is about pattern recognition. Okay, that's one of the fulcrums of statistics. It's about prediction, it's about forecasting, it's about pattern recognition, it's about probabilistic reasoning, probabilities. Guys, if you understand those basic things, okay, and I do say they're basic, yes, you can learn them to an advanced level, whatever, but if you understand those basic things, then you shift that skill set into the world of business, where you understand how business works based on supply and demand. It becomes very much easier to start to spot trends. And as my mentor said to me years ago, when I was probably 19 years old, the one thing we learn from history is we do not learn from history. Guys, what you need to understand is most people making predictions generally tend, for the majority of their prediction, to be based on the past, based on historic data. Why is that important? This is why it's important. Joe Rogan signing a deal for 100 million means that tomorrow someone with similar statistics, okay, keyword statistics, could potentially sign another deal for the same amount or more. Okay, and if they didn't, and if they don't, they could be selling themselves short. Now, how can we say, oh, he's not selling himself short, he's a completely different person? The reason why is because just like property, we now have what we might call a comparable. A comparable, and comparables make a difference. Okay, comparables can make a difference. So guys, I want you to be mindful of that. Okay, I want you to be so mindful of that, because at the end of the day, if you don't understand why this kind of thing can happen, then it can happen to you, and you can be on the bad end of it rather than on the positive end of it, which is where you're supposed to be, which is where we're all supposed to be. All right, so guys, I want to encourage you to understand exactly what I've been sharing with you guys for weeks now. There is a wealth transfer taking place, and the question you need to ask yourself is, where do you want to be in terms of that conundrum, in terms of that shift of wealth? Do you want to be a person who maximizes this opportunity, like we can see Mark Zuckerberg and a few other people have done? And look, guys, I talk about this all the time. Entrepreneurship is a simple process. It is solving problems for people. What this said here, it didn't break it down deeply, but it alluded in that first few paragraphs I read to the fact that the 60% increase may heavily be to do with the fact that Facebook launched shop fronts. Okay, that's what it alluded to in the article. Now, guys, look, I'm going to be transparent with you. I don't believe that's going to be the primary contributing factor to why they increased by 60%. 60% is an astronomical growth. Okay, 60% is astronomical growth as it pertains to property. So, guys, no, this is not me saying, yes, I believe that it's because of the shop fronts. I can give you some. If you'd like me to share with you some of the reasons why I think Facebook has grown by a 60% increase over the last 2 months, I can share that with you. Okay, all I want you to do is write in the comment, share. One word, share. You write share and I'll share. Okay, and I'll come back to that. But guys, first thing I want you to understand is the first article we shared, BMV By Force. Okay, and I want you to write that comment down, write that statement down, have that statement in your mind to start thinking about. BMV By Force, like, what does that mean? Okay, what does that actually mean? BMV By Force. Samuel's now coining some phrase, BMV By Force. Guys, BMV By Force is what I was saying was going to happen weeks back, guys. I was saying people are now going to be expecting discounts. People are now going to be asking for discounts. People are now going to be saying, no, I'll do it, but not at that price. I'm going to do it at this price. Okay, I was encouraging people to go out of their way and do one simple thing in this current climate. I was encouraging people in this climate to take advantage. Our first webinar that we started running was how to take advantage in this current climate and win. How to take advantage in this current climate and win. Why do you think we were talking about taking advantage in this current climate and winning? Because we knew that we was in a position where there was and there is going to be a massive wealth transfer. Okay, a massive wealth transfer. So those of you who want to connect, get onto that webinar. Start to understand what we're talking about in that webinar, about taking advantage in this current climate and winning. Not just taking it, I'm in the current climate, I'm going to do some property. No, guys, you have to know what you're doing in order to win. So take full advantage of that. I've seen a few people write share, so I'm going to share now. One of the key ways is this. The people who were sitting on the fence before about doing things like marketing ads. Okay. And guys, I want you to understand this. Okay. Because I coach people in property. So I see this all the time. I see people who want to do Facebook ads, but they don't start doing Facebook ads. They don't start spending money, giving Facebook money. And again, listen to the concept, okay? Because I've said this to you. This is supply and demand. There are people who have been thinking for the last 6 months, 6 years, I should run Facebook ads to tell people that I help people buy property quickly and rent their property out quickly. I should probably run Facebook ads. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people, maybe even millions of people across the globe who've been thinking I should run Facebook ads, but they've never run Facebook ads. And a global pandemic takes place. These people are now at home. They still have the same business. They could probably still provide the same service, but now they're thinking, how do I market to my clientele? So what do? They start spending money on Facebook ads. Why does that have an instant impact on Facebook? Because when they say follow the money, if you're familiar with that term, you'll understand that revenue is directly generated by Facebook by people who are advertising. Advertising is one of Facebook's largest revenue streams as an organization. So if you got a 60% increase in your business revenue, 9 times out of 10, that's going to have something to do with one of your primary income strategies. Okay. So for me, you guys have said share. I'm just sharing. The first reason I believe we've seen this surge is actually because of an increase in advertisement. Now, why is that interesting? It's interesting because you who are going on Facebook every single day are now probably being advertised to more selectively and more heavily than ever before. Now, you got to think about this. Like, people are at home now. Okay, that's the mantra people are saying. Oh, everybody's at home. People are at home now. But the thing is, Facebook goes where you go. Facebook goes with your device. You take the phone, the iPhone, the tablet, whatever you take, and your Facebook ad is going to come up wherever you are on Facebook. So it doesn't even matter if you're at home. But the reality is, advertising revenue, I believe, is one of the major places where Facebook has hiked up, in that heap of 60% increase. That's the first one. Advertising revenue. Second one, usage. Okay, so what do I mean by usage? How does usage play a part? Because Facebook's free, right? Surely Facebook's free, so usage doesn't make a difference. Guys, usage makes a massive difference. Why does it make a massive difference? I just alluded to a moment ago that with more ads and more people being prey, if I put it that way, to the Facebook algorithm, to Facebook, what's generally going to tend to happen is people are going to start falling for the ads more. And it's not that you're falling for the ads more, it's just the ad can speak to you more. You might give the ad 30 seconds now rather than the 3 seconds you would give before, when you had to quickly rush to work, or when you had to quickly get ready for work, or when you had to quickly get home for dinner after work. Now works at home. So when when you're scrolling through Facebook, you're more of a captive audience. Why is this important? Because the more usage of Facebook goes up, the more effective the marketing becomes. So not only advertising is going to be one of the primary reasons that Facebook increased by 60%, but secondarily, the increase is going to come through extreme increased usage. That extreme increased usage is going to have a knock-on effect in terms of sales. So people are going to buy more from Facebook. If people buy more from Facebook or through Facebook, there's other added things that then take place. What takes place? Well, my cost per marketing, feature reduces because more people are buying. So if my cost reduces, what can I now do? I can advertise more. Guys, it's a snowball. It's a cycle. It's a snowball and it's a cycle. And guys, I want you to understand that. All right. So let's jump into the next article. There's another article I wanted to share with you guys, something that came up recently. And again, it's still to do with the false narrative, but it's something that, again, I wanted to share with you guys because I want people that are engaging with this show to have a real understanding of what takes place every single day, not just now and then, every single day. Okay, every single day, because this is the stuff that is stopping people from actually moving forward in their life a whole bunch of time. Okay, a whole bunch of time. So this is an article by the Metro. Okay, so not unfortunately, one of those major newspapers, but the Metro is widely read. It's a heavily read and widely read newspaper in the UK. Now, why do I want to share this Metro article? It's because I've heard, a bit of bantering around going on with a few people, interestingly enough, in a couple of the property groups I'm a part of. And they're talking about how, this is a scam. Some people have said this is a scam. Other people have said a few other things. Okay, I'm gonna read the headline to you, and then after reading the headline, I'll go into the article. It says, "Man raffles £400,000 house for £2 a ticket after lack of buyer interest during coronavirus pandemic." And this is released on the 5th of May. Okay, so this was the beginning of this month. Okay, and then they've just got a whole bunch of pictures. Now, obviously, on the screen, I've only put the headline, but I'm going to read the first couple of paragraphs again, give you guys a bit of an insight into this and just how interesting but / ludicrous this nonsense is. Okay, it says during lockdown, and you're going to find out what I mean by this nonsense. Okay. It says during lockdown, moving house is probably the last thing you want to do, which is a lie. Okay. And guys, I want to share this with you. This is 100% a lie. Okay. Now, this is not me, pointing the finger at the Metro saying they're directly lying to the public, but a lie is a lie. And if it's a lie to the public in a newspaper, then you work it out for yourself. But you cannot, or you should not, okay, start an article with a sentence like this when you know it's not true, okay? And part of the reason it's not true, and guys, this is not me saying, oh, I know and they don't know. Guys, look at the facts. Michael Gove, the moment the lockdown was announced, I put this out on one of our impact shows weeks back, reported that people should not move in the pandemic. Why do you need a government statesperson to tell people not to move if nobody wants to move? Think about that, guys. We just read an article a moment ago which was saying that there is a price war for the acquisition of property. Now, why is there going to be a price war, if there is one, if people are not interested in moving? Guys, I want you to think about this, okay? Now, someone might say, oh, but it's buy-to-let investors who are buying those properties, so it's a price war for buy-to-let investors. Okay, you tell me whether the appetite of buy-to-let investors is for properties with tenants in situ or properties generally empty, okay? Because I can guarantee you over 50% of property sales that take place every single year are not for properties with tenants inside of those properties. Guys, a high proportion of properties sold every year, and that's going to be the same in this climate, are properties which are empty. They're called vacant possession properties. Most people, if you're watching this and you've ever bought a property, please write in the chat if you've ever bought a property with a tenant inside versus you've only ever bought property empty. Okay, and when I say empty, I don't mean they're empty the minute you buy them, but you've applied or you've requested vacant possession. Okay, even in auction houses, where houses are sold in a fairly different manner, generally the large proportion of auction house properties are again going to be vacant possession properties. Why is all this important? All this is important because if you don't understand this, you won't understand when lies are being told to you through articles. Okay, and guys, you can go read this article, 5th of May, Metro. Okay. And guys, what I'm going to talk about in this regard is completely different as well. So for those of you who are watching this, you're going to get, a whole bunch of value. And again, if you're getting value, write the word value in the chat so I know that you're getting value. Okay. If this is not value for you guys, put a thumbs down. Put a thumbs down. This is not a biased channel where I only want you to do a thumbs up. Oh yeah, we like the content. Guys, if you don't like what we're talking about in the impact show today, put a thumbs down. Make a decision. Do you like this content? Do you not like this content? Let YouTube understand this is good content or this is not good content. I'll let you be the judge of that because you guys are the viewers. So I'm reading the article. It says during lockdown, moving house is probably, okay, and you see how they use this probabilistic language when they're saying stuff that they know is a factual lie. Probably the last thing you want to do. It goes on to say, but it's hard for those who already had their house on the market before the outbreak. And obviously, this goes back to stuff we've read in the other article. It says some gentleman's name. It says has been trying to sell his 3-bedroom property at Tramway Path in Mitcham, South London for about 8 months. Okay, so the guy's property's been on the market for 8 months. Why is this important? Let's read this. It says he's had a couple of frustrating sales fall through, and when the country went into lockdown, he realized that selling the house was going to be even more difficult. Now look, guys, I'm not trying to slander this guy, but I'm going to get into this. You're going to see what I'm talking about. I've got to read the next 2 paragraphs and go into it. It says he bought the house at the beginning of last year and it was in poor condition. He wanted to renovate it to use it as a family home when he and his wife got married last June. But after starting the renovations, they decided that they wanted to live elsewhere and sell this house on to someone else after the transformation. Guys, look, this article goes on, and basically, in a way, Metro's kind of trying to act like they're trying to help this guy sell his house, but kind of trying to act like, oh, this is all about the pandemic. Listen, guys, this guy, look, guys, let me even go deep, okay? My wife, I believe, shared this guy selling his house in a WhatsApp group that me and my family are in late January, early February. Okay, guys, did you know? Was you on lockdown in late January, early February? You tell me. You tell me, because I can get my wife's WhatsApp and show that this guy was heavily marketing on Instagram. Okay, and look, guys, my hat, here's my hat. My hat goes off to the gentleman. Okay, why does my hat go off to the gentleman? Because he's an intelligent gentleman. Okay, now here's some of the things I want to share with you guys. Okay, one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in, they're saying, oh, it's a scam, it's a scam, it's a scam. No, it's not a scam. Okay, because you're in the UK, you do not, some people in the property market in the UK do not have an expansive world view of how property operates. Okay, and I'm not saying that to say I know everything about in the world of property. No, I don't. Okay, but one thing I do know is that the raffling of properties is not a new thing. Raffling of properties is not a new concept. It's not a new ideology. Okay, in America they call it house lotteries. Okay, house lotteries have been going on for years, for decades. Okay, it's not something new. So is it a scam? No, it's not a scam. It's just a different way of selling a property. Now, in some of the groups I'm in, they started breaking things down. You know, the house is really only worth 300,000, blah, blah, blah. Guys, all of that is fine. The house is going to be sold for the price the market are happy to pay for it. So what that means is if he gets, for example, 300,000 people who pay £2 for a ticket, he's going to sell effectively the house for 600k. Guys, it's got nothing to do with the value of the property when you create a house lottery. It's got to do with the value of your marketing. And this is something you have to understand. It's a different way of trading or selling a property. Okay. Now, why am I sharing this? I'm sharing this because, guys, if you listen to mainstream narrative, which is where we started, you are going to be influenced in a way which you potentially shouldn't be influenced. And this stuff hurts me. The reason it hurts me is because I've got coaching clients who come to me with the nonsense, okay, and I have to help them unravel this stuff before they can start making objective decisions about their property journey. And guys, this is how real it is. I don't want you making subjective decision-making processes based on the information, which is either lies, hyperbole, or just something that you shouldn't even be engaging with, okay? Metro are trying to position the sale of this gentleman's property based on the fact that we've been in lockdown. This guy has been marketing his property heavily through the portal of Instagram, from my knowledge, you know, first and foremost. Obviously, it's probably on a lot of other platforms, which is probably how it ended up on the Metro. But he's been marketing this property since before the lockdown. He's been marketing this property for a while. And guys, my hat is off to him. I've said that. I don't know the gentleman personally, but my hat is off to the gentleman. And the reason why is because he's doing something different. He's not just using the knowledge, the insight that is available here. Like I said, guys, just like I always talk about purchase lease options and lease options, we live in a world where in the UK, because we're in such a conservative bubble, people go to these gurus, pay for these courses, and actually believe what these gurus tell them, that, oh, I created the lease option. Guys, lease options came from agriculture. People used to option cows hundreds of years ago. Stop listening to these people lying to you in order to get a pound or a penny out of your pocket. The reality is, if you're going to pay someone to coach you, to train you, go find someone who's reputable, who isn't going to lie to you, who's going to help you. Because at the end of the day, you part with your money through means of property training, property coaching, etc., in order to receive help. That's my belief. So if you want to receive help, make sure that you're working with someone who can help and who's not just going to lie to you, who's not just going to spin you a narrative which has nothing to do with reality. So guys, look, these are some of the things I wanted to share. I'm going to ask the team if we've got any other callers who've called through. I don't believe we have another caller on the show right now. So let me just wrap up on this. I'll summarize with a few of the things we've spoken about. If we get another caller, I'll probably take one more caller before we shut down for tonight. But guys, again, you know, I've seen value in the comments. Thank you, eCosmios, for the value in the comments. Guys, if you're getting value, write the word value in the comments. Let us know that we're sharing value with you, so we should keep coming back each week. Now, this headline, man raffles £400,000 house for £2 a ticket after lack of buyer interest during coronavirus pandemic. Now, if you know the guy's story, okay, which again, the guy has shared prolifically on Instagram even before the lockdown, the guy does share certain aspects. Now, if you do a bit more research, which is what I did when when my wife first shared it with me. Why did I do some research? Because I'm a property guy. I'm interested in property stuff. When I did the research, I found that yes, he had a few sales that fell through. I also found, which most of you who are property people know how to do that. I also found the price he bought the property for, and I looked at it and I thought, well, hold on a minute. He's using an American strategy, and it's not an American strategy, but he's using a strategy that's used more often in America in order to get a sale on his property. Is he smart? Yes, in my opinion, he's doing the smart thing. Okay, is it gonna work? Well, guys, we're gonna have to wait and find out. Okay, now at a price of £2 a ticket, that is fairly cheap enough for people to want to contribute and invest in what the guy's doing. Now, it's a house lottery according to what they call it in America, but here, Metro are calling it a raffle. Okay, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter what you call it. If you have 200,000 people who pay £2 a ticket, okay, and obviously in many cases some people buy more than one ticket, then this guy is going to liquidate £400,000, and obviously he will now give the house to one person who paid £2 or maybe more. Okay, guys, you sign up for the national lottery all the time. Some of you, I don't gamble, but many of you sign up for the national lottery all the time. So please understand that all this guy's doing is, instead of rolling 6 balls or whatever they do, rolling 49 balls and choosing 6 numbers, he's going to take, in front of a solicitor, he said he's going to do it, in front of a solicitor, he's going to choose one person who paid for a ticket. Okay? Now, I sincerely hope that someone I know wins the house. Why? Because you haven't actually, well, most people, you wouldn't have paid £200,000, £400,000, £300,000 in order to be in the raffle. You would have paid your £2, your £12, your £18, whatever you would have paid. So I want to encourage you to understand, guys, that the media are not always pushing narratives which are reality. The media is not always pushing narratives which is the truth. And if you understand that, you will stop making your investment decisions, your decisions to be able to make an impact in your own life, your decisions in order to make an impact in the lives of those around you, based on the false narratives that come out from a number of these people or a bunch of these people. So guys, these are some of the things I wanted to share with you. Okay, I wanted to share with you what was going on in Forbes. I wanted to let you guys know about what Forbes were saying. Okay, because what Forbes are saying is really actually quite interesting. There's a wealth transfer taking place. Okay, $255 billion has been transferred in the last 2 months, guys. I don't know if you can quantify that. Okay, I don't know if you understand that. But my question for you, like it has been for the last several weeks, and like it's going to be on the webinar, guys, I think the team's thrown the link on the webinar in the chat. Go and register for the webinar on Monday. We're going to be talking about how to take advantage in this current climate and win. But my question, that's an on-demand webinar, okay? So my question for you guys is this. If $255 billion is being transferred to the super rich, can't $5,000, £5,000, £10,000 a month more be transferred to you in this climate? Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't you take the advantage in this current climate, like I've been encouraging you to do for the last 7, 8, 9 weeks, and win? Why wouldn't you? Why can't you? Why would you choose not to do that? Okay? Why would you not choose to do that? Okay? So I want you guys to think about that. Now, for those of you who are on tonight, free gift for you, free resource. Go get the Sourcing Blueprint, okay? The Sourcing Blueprint is the free ebook which breaks down how to source properties. So Yogesh spoke earlier when he called in about wanting to source commercial properties in this current climate. Sourcing Blueprint can help you with that. Gives you a great outline which you can start utilizing to build a team. I've got a good question that's just come through. Is there anything wrong with the raffle deal? Is it a gimmick? Okay, now first and foremost, okay, is there anything wrong with the raffle deal? I don't believe there's anything wrong with it. Okay, it's a different way to sell a property. Okay, I don't believe, that's just me saying it, I don't believe there's anything wrong with it. The key to having a successful raffle / house lottery, as it's known in America, the key to having a successful one is successful marketing. That's what you have to understand. You have to get your opportunity in front of enough people's face, for enough people to give you £2, for that to equate to the 400,000. Now, many of you know that the gentleman has said, which again is usually a common trait with house lotteries, if the property doesn't meet a reserve price, which I think is the 400,000 or somewhere thereabouts, if it doesn't reach the reserve price, he's not selling the property. So the money he gets from all the people that buys tickets is basically well done for some good marketing fee. Okay, so is he going to make money? Yeah, of course he's going to make money, but he's supposed to make money. Any person who has an offering, brings it to a marketplace, and people decide to patronize that offering, whether it's with a £2 voucher, whether it's £100,000 voucher, whether it's, £2,000 of training, whatever it is, you're patronizing that opportunity. So is that person supposed to make money? Yes. If they're not supposed to make money, then guys, nobody would have a business. Supply and demand. He's supplying a property. He's tapping into the demand that people have. Okay? So if you pay your £2 to potentially win his property and you win his property, are you going to complain? The answer is no. Are you going to say, oh, this is a gimmick. I won a house and I only paid £6. I bought 3 tickets. Guys, come on. But guys, let me encourage you because I want you to understand this. Don't be one of those people who are only in it to win it. Guys, if you're in something, let's say stocks and shares. I've got a video on the channel. You guys can go and watch it where I talk about the first time I invested in stocks. Guys, over time, I lost my money. How did I lose money over time? It wasn't because the stock potentially went down in value, to be honest. The stock actually tracked at a good price. It actually went up for quite a bit. There was 2 issues, which is why my stock got eroded. And that's the language I use because that's what's important. The first issue is the rate of growth was not exponential, which is cool because all stock growth isn't exponential. Secondarily, I didn't buy a mass amount to protect me from what actually did erode my shares. What eroded my shares? It was fees, admin fees. Okay? The company who I bought shares through was bought out by another global company. The bigger company charged a whole bunch more for acquisition of shares and the holding of shares, and it eroded my shares. Now, does that mean I never bought shares again? No, I went and bought shares again, guys. And this is the thing, in the video on the YouTube, on our channel, you can go watch it, hit subscribe, become a family member of the channel. Guys, one of the things that really I share in the video is about how the next time I bought shares, the value of that share times by 5. That would never have happened to me if I thought, oh, shares are a gimmick, because of one experience. Okay? So, good cakery, your comment, is there anything wrong with the raffle deal? I don't think there's anything wrong. I think, like I said, I'll say it again. I'll do it again. My hat is off to the gentleman. Okay? I take my hat off to the gentleman. In English, if you're an English person with some tradition, you know what that means. That means I show this gentleman respect. I've got respect for this gentleman for choosing a different way to try and sell his house. Okay? So my hat is off to him. I don't think it's a gimmick. Okay? I know in America this is something that's done regularly. So again, guys, I don't think it's a gimmick. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If the guy's good at marketing, he's gonna make some good money. He's gonna sell his house. He's gonna be able to move on. All right. So for me, I'm encouraged. Okay, I'm encouraged because people are being innovative and there's nothing wrong with it. The thing that's wrong, the reason I've put it on the show is because it ties in with our theme on tonight's show. Mass media sharing stories, giving spin, giving narratives, telling us stuff that has an influence on our investment decisions. And we, as property investors, as property people, whether you're a beginner, whether you're someone who's more advanced, we shouldn't be influenced by the wind of mass media, because the mass media wind isn't created to favor you. All right, we've got another comment here. The second comment here says, what have we got here? Second comment here says, how do we benefit from the current situation? That is an absolutely fantastic question. How do we benefit from the current situation? Look, this is a question from Oliver. Oliver, the way we benefit from the current situation is jump on the webinar in the description, take full advantage. For those of you who haven't, I want you to go watch this video right here, which is No Money Down Property, another video on our channel, which is going to give you absolute massive value. This is something I can win. I'm signing out. I know you got value on the Impact Show. Hit like, press subscribe, become a part of the channel. See you soon.